Hey, what's up, amazing people? Today, we're diving deep into something that's going to completely transform your life. Not just change it, transform it. You know that feeling when your mind is racing at 3 a.m., thinking about all the stuff that's weighing you down? Well, after this video, you'll have a practical blueprint for eliminating what's holding you back. We're talking Stoic philosophy meets modern life. No fluff, no nonsense, just pure, actionable wisdom that's been tested for over 2,000 years. Before we dive in, let me tell you what you're about to discover. We're going to explore 10 things that are secretly sabotaging your peace of mind. These aren't just random tips. They're fundamental principles that ancient Stoics used to build unshakable mental strength. And the best part, you can start implementing these changes today, quietly, without anyone even noticing. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear roadmap to transform your mental space, boost your productivity, and find that elusive inner peace we're all searching for. Let's start with the first life-changing elimination. Number 1, eliminate reactive responses. The first thing you need to quietly remove from your life is reactive responses. This is huge, so pay attention. When something happens, most people immediately react, like a puppet on strings. But here's the game-changing truth. Between every stimulus and response lies a space. Your power lies in that space. Think about the last time someone cut you off in traffic. Your instant reaction was probably anger, right? That's what we're eliminating. Instead, we're creating a buffer zone between event and response. This isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering them. The ancient Stoics had a practice called premeditatio malorum, basically anticipating challenges before they happen. By doing this, they weren't caught off guard when things went wrong. They were prepared, calm, and in control. Here's the practical side. Start by introducing a 3-second pause before responding to anything that triggers you. 3 seconds might not sound like much, but it's enough to break the automatic reaction cycle. It's like installing a mental circuit breaker. The beauty of this change is that it's invisible to others. Nobody needs to know you're doing it, but they'll notice the results. Your newfound calm, your measured responses, your unshakable presence. This elimination requires practice. Start with small situations, maybe that annoying email from a colleague or your phone battery dying at the worst moment. Use these as training grounds for bigger challenges. Remember, every time you choose response over reaction, you're rewiring your brain. You're building neural pathways that lead to peace instead of chaos. It's like creating a new operating system for your mind. The impact of this change ripples out into every area of your life. Your relationships improve because you're no longer saying things you regret. Your work life transforms because you're making decisions based on wisdom rather than impulse. Most importantly, you're no longer at the mercy of external events. You become the architect of your responses rather than a victim of circumstances. This is true freedom, the freedom to choose how you engage with life's challenges. Ultimately, eliminating reactive responses is about reclaiming your power. It's about stepping into the role of observer before becoming an actor in any situation. Number 2, eliminate information overload. Let's talk about something that's silently killing your focus and peace of mind: information overload. In today's world, we're drowning in a sea of data, and it's time to build yourself an ark. This isn't just about reducing screen time. It's about reclaiming your mental bandwidth. The average person consumes more information in a day than someone in the 15th century did in their entire lifetime. Think about that for a second. Your brain is processing an insane amount of input, and most of it isn't serving you at all. The Stoics emphasize the importance of focusing on what's essential and within our control. They didn't have social media or 24/7 news cycles, but their principle applies perfectly to our modern challenge. Focus on what truly matters. Here's where it gets practical. Start by auditing your information intake. What newsletters are you subscribed to? How many news sources do you follow? How many social media platforms are you juggling? It's time to cut the fat. The key is to be ruthless but strategic. You don't need to know everything about everything. Choose your areas of focus and eliminate information that doesn't serve these areas. It's like decluttering your house, but for your mind. Create designated times for information consumption. Maybe it's 30 minutes in the morning for news and 30 minutes in the evening for social media. Outside these windows, your mind should be free to focus on what's important. This elimination process might feel uncomfortable at first. You might experience FOMO, fear of missing out. But here's the truth. You're not missing out. You're opting in to mental clarity and deeper understanding of what truly matters. The benefits are profound. Improved concentration, better memory retention, reduced anxiety, and most importantly, the mental space to think deeply and creatively. You're not just reducing noise, you're making room for wisdom. Your decision-making improves because you're no longer paralyzed by endless options and opinions. You develop what the Stoics called clear judgment, the ability to see through the chaos to what's essential. The goal isn't to become uninformed, but to be selectively well-informed, quality over quantity, depth over breadth. Number 3, eliminate toxic comparisons. The third elimination is crucial. Toxic comparisons. This silent killer of joy has become even more potent in our social media age. It's time to cut this poison from your mental diet. And here's why it matters more than ever. Comparison is the thief of joy. This isn't just a cute quote, it's a psychological reality. Every time you compare yourself to others, you're playing a game you can't win because you're comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel. The Stoics emphasized focusing on what's within our control. Your actions, your efforts, your intentions, these are yours to command. Someone else's success, their path, their circumstances, these are outside your control and therefore not worth your mental energy. Here's the brutal truth. Most of the people you're comparing yourself to aren't even thinking about you. They're too busy comparing themselves to others. It's a circular trap that benefits no one and harms everyone involved. The solution starts with awareness. Notice when you fall into comparison mode. Is it when you're scrolling through social media? When you're at work? When you're with certain people? Identifying these triggers is the first step to eliminating them. Start redirecting your energy towards self-competition. Instead of asking, why aren't I as successful as them? Ask, how can I be better than I was yesterday? This shift changes everything. It puts you back in the driver's seat of your own growth. This doesn't mean becoming oblivious to others' achievements. It means learning to appreciate them without diminishing yourself. Success isn't a finite resource. Someone else's win doesn't mean your loss. The practical implementation involves creating clear, personal standards for success. What does success mean to you? Not your parents, not society, not your social media feed. Define it, write it down, and let it be your guide. Remember that your path is unique. The Stoics understood that each person has their own role to play in the universe. Your job isn't to play someone else's role better than them. It's to play your role as well as you possibly can. The freedom that comes from eliminating toxic comparisons is extraordinary. Your energy is no longer scattered trying to keep up with others. It's focused on your own growth and development. Number 4. Eliminate unnecessary possessions. Let's dive into something that's literally and figuratively weighing you down. Unnecessary possessions. This isn't just another minimalism lecture. It's about understanding how your stuff might be owning you instead of you owning it. The Stoics were onto something profound when they practiced voluntary discomfort and material simplicity. They understood that the more things you own, the more mental energy you spend maintaining, organizing, and worrying about those things. Here's a mind-blowing reality check. Studies show that the average home has over 300,000 items. That's not just clutter, that's 300,000 tiny decisions, 300,000 little maintenance tasks, 300,000 pieces of mental baggage. The key is to start seeing your possessions through a new lens. Ask yourself, does this item serve a purpose, or does it merely serve a possibility? Are you keeping things just in case, or because they truly add value to your life right now? This elimination process isn't about getting rid of everything. It's about being intentional with what you allow to occupy your physical, and by extension mental, space. Think of it as curating your life, rather than decluttering it. Start with the easy wins, duplicate items, broken things you'll fix someday, clothes you haven't worn in a year, gifts you keep out of guilt. These are the low-hanging fruit of possession elimination. The real challenge comes with items that have emotional attachment. This is where the Stoic principle of impermanence becomes valuable. Everything is temporary, including our attachment to material things. Understanding this makes letting go easier. Here's a practical strategy. Create 3 zones in your home: essential, meaningful, and excessive. Be honest about what belongs where. The excessive zone is your elimination target. Don't rush. This is a process, not an event. The benefits extend far beyond just having a tidier space. You'll experience reduced decision fatigue, increased focus, better sleep, especially if you declutter your bedroom, and a stronger sense of control over your environment. Remember, this isn't about living with nothing. It's about living with enough. The right amount of possessions support your life. Too many possessions complicate it. Number 5, eliminate negative self-talk. Time to address the voice in your head that's holding you back. Negative self-talk. This isn't just about positive thinking. It's about establishing a more truthful, productive, internal dialogue. Consider this. You have about 60,000 thoughts per day, and research suggests that for most people, up to 80% of these thoughts are negative. That's like having a full-time critic living in your head, working overtime to undermine you. The Stoics emphasized the importance of disciplined thinking. They understood that our thoughts shape our reality. Marcus Aurelius wrote about how our life is what our thoughts make it, and he was running an empire while figuring this out. Here's where it gets practical. Start catching yourself in the act of negative self-talk. Don't try to stop it immediately. Just observe it first. Notice the patterns, the triggers, the specific phrases you use against yourself. Once you're aware of your negative thought patterns, it's time to challenge them. Not with blind positivity, but with logical questioning. When you think, "I always mess things up," ask yourself, is this actually true? What evidence supports or contradicts this thought? Implement the third-person perspective technique. Instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," switch to using your name. Is I really not good enough? This creates psychological distance and helps you see things more objectively. Create a thought upgrade system. For every negative thought pattern you identify, develop a more balanced, realistic alternative. This isn't about sugarcoating. It's about accuracy and fairness to yourself. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate all negative thoughts. That's unrealistic and unnecessary. The goal is to establish a more balanced, truthful internal dialogue that serves your growth rather than hinders it. The impact of this change is profound and far-reaching. Your confidence improves, your resilience strengthens, and your ability to handle challenges increases. You become your own ally instead of your own enemy. This elimination requires consistent practice and patience. Think of it as reprogramming a computer that's been running the same faulty software for years. It takes time, but the upgrade is worth it. Number 6, eliminate fear-based decision-making. Let's tackle something that's secretly controlling many of your choices: fear-based decision-making. This elimination is about moving from fear to wisdom as your primary decision-making tool. Fear served our ancestors well when they were avoiding predators, but in today's world, it often leads to choices that keep us small and safe rather than fulfilled and growing. The Stoics understood this. They knew that fear is usually more harmful than the thing we're afraid of. Here's the reality check. Most of what we fear never happens. Studies show that 85% of what we worry about never materializes. Yet we let these phantom fears dictate our choices and limit our potential. Start by identifying your fear-based decisions. Are you staying in a job you hate because you're afraid of change? Are you avoiding relationships because you're afraid of getting hurt? Are you not starting that project because you're afraid of failure? The key is to replace fear with calculated risk assessment. Instead of asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" ask, "What if everything goes right?" And what's the actual worst that could happen? Rate the probability of both scenarios. Implement the future self technique. When making decisions, consider what your future self would want you to do. Would they thank you for playing it safe or for taking that calculated risk that led to growth? Create a fear-testing protocol. Before making any significant decision, ask yourself, am I choosing this because it's what I want or because it feels safe? If safety is the only pro on your list, it's time to reevaluate. Remember, eliminating fear-based decision-making doesn't mean becoming reckless. It means making choices based on values, goals, and rational assessment, rather than letting fear be the default driver. The impact of this change is transformative. You'll find yourself taking more calculated risks, growing faster, and experiencing life more fully. Fear becomes a data point rather than a dictator. This is about reclaiming your power to choose. Every time you make a decision based on wisdom rather than fear, you strengthen this new muscle. Number 7, eliminate procrastination. Let's tackle the silent productivity killer that's costing you countless opportunities, procrastination. This isn't about time management. It's about understanding and rewiring the psychological patterns that keep you stuck. Procrastination isn't laziness, it's an emotional regulation problem. When you procrastinate, you're not avoiding the task. You're avoiding the negative emotions associated with it. This understanding is crucial for elimination. The Stoics had a powerful concept called amor fati, love of fate, or love of what must be done. They understood that resistance to necessary tasks only creates additional suffering. The task remains, but now it's accompanied by guilt and stress. Here's the game-changing approach. Break down your resistance into its smallest components. What exactly are you avoiding? Is it the fear of failure, the overwhelming size of the task, the uncertainty of the outcome? Name it to tame it. Implement the 2-minute rule with a Stoic twist. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. But here's the key. For larger tasks, commit to just 2 minutes of work. Often, you'll find yourself continuing naturally. Create a procrastination log. Track when you procrastinate, what you're avoiding and what you do instead. This isn't for judgment, it's for understanding. Patterns will emerge, and patterns can be changed. Develop what I call the future tax mindset. Every time you procrastinate, you're borrowing time and peace of mind from your future self, with interest. Ask yourself, am I willing to pay this tax? Use the if-then planning technique. Instead of vague intentions, create specific triggers. If it's 9 a.m., then I'll work on the project for 25 minutes. This eliminates the decision-making phase where procrastination often creeps in. Remember, perfection is procrastination's best friend. Lower the bar for starting, not for quality, but for initiation. The Stoics emphasized action over contemplation when it comes to duty. The goal isn't to never procrastinate, it's to catch yourself earlier in the cycle and redirect your energy toward productive action. Each small win builds momentum. Number 8. Eliminate toxic relationships. Time to address something that's draining your energy and compromising your peace: toxic relationships. This isn't about dramatic cutoffs, it's about strategic relationship management based on Stoic principles. First, understand that toxic relationships aren't just about obvious abuse. They're any connections that consistently diminish your energy, challenge your values, or hinder your growth. The subtle ones are often the most dangerous. The Stoics emphasize choosing our associations wisely. Epictetus said, "We become like those we spend time with," making relationship choices some of the most important decisions in our lives. Start with a relationship audit. Create 3 categories: energizing, neutral, and draining. Be brutally honest about where each relationship falls. This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. Implement the concept of relationship boundaries rather than relationship endings. Sometimes, elimination means reducing exposure rather than complete cutoff. Think of it as adjusting the volume rather than hitting mute. Develop what I call the energy exchange rate. After each significant interaction, note whether you feel energized or depleted. This creates a clear metric for relationship assessment beyond just feelings or obligations. Create strategic distance without drama. This might mean longer response times to messages, shorter meetings, or fewer commitments. The key is consistency rather than sudden changes. Remember, toxic relationships often persist because of guilt or fear. Challenge these emotions with Stoic reasoning. Is maintaining this relationship aligned with your values and growth? What's the actual cost of distance? The goal isn't to isolate yourself, but to create space for healthy relationships to flourish. Nature abhors a vacuum. When you eliminate toxic connections, you make room for nourishing ones. This elimination requires courage and clarity. Stand firm in your right to choose your associations based on your values and well-being. Number 9. Eliminate rigid expectations. Let's address a major source of suffering: rigid expectations. This elimination is about finding the balance between having standards and being adaptable to reality. The Stoics understood that much of our suffering comes from the gap between our expectations and reality. The wider this gap, the greater our distress. The key is not to lower our standards, but to hold them more flexibly. Start by identifying your non-negotiable values versus your flexible preferences. Values guide us, expectations often trap us. Know the difference and hold them accordingly. Implement the multiple scenarios approach. Instead of fixating on one expected outcome, develop the habit of imagining 3 possible scenarios: best case, worst case, and most likely case. This builds mental flexibility. Create what I call expectation check-ins. Regularly assess whether your expectations are serving as helpful guides or becoming rigid demands that set you up for disappointment. Practice the art of pleasant surprises. When you release rigid expectations, you open yourself to possibilities you hadn't considered. This isn't about settling. It's about remaining open to different forms of good. Develop adaptability without compromising standards. Think of your expectations as a GPS that can recalculate when needed, rather than a rigid map that becomes useless when the road changes. Remember, rigid expectations often stem from a desire for control in an uncontrollable world. The Stoic approach is to focus on controlling our response rather than demanding specific outcomes. This elimination leads to more peace and less disappointment. You'll find yourself more resilient to change and more appreciative of what actually unfolds. The goal is to maintain high standards while developing psychological flexibility, a powerful combination for success and satisfaction. Number 10. Eliminate the need for external validation. Our final elimination might be the most powerful: the constant seeking of external validation. This is about building an internal compass that guides you regardless of others' opinions. The Stoics were clear on this. True worth comes from living according to your values, not from others' approval. Yet in our social media age, this wisdom is more challenging and more important than ever. Start by auditing your validation-seeking behaviors. Are you checking your phone constantly for likes, adjusting your opinions based on others' reactions, doing things for the story rather than the experience? Develop what I call the internal metric system. Define what success, happiness, and worth mean to you, independent of external feedback. These become your new measuring sticks. Create a validation replacement strategy. Every time you catch yourself seeking external approval, redirect that energy toward internal validation based on your values and standards. Practice making decisions without consulting others first. Start small, choose a restaurant without reading reviews, form an opinion about a movie before checking ratings, wear what feels right without asking for opinions. Remember, the goal isn't to become immune to feedback or appreciation. It's to ensure that external validation is a bonus, not a necessity for your sense of worth. Implement the delayed sharing practice. Experience moments fully before sharing them. Let the experience itself be enough, rather than making it real through others' reactions. This elimination is gradual but transformative. As your need for external validation decreases, your authentic self-expression increases. The freedom that comes from this final elimination is profound. It's the freedom to live on your own terms, guided by your own values and wisdom. There you have it, 10 powerful eliminations that can transform your life. Remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Start with one elimination that resonates most strongly with you. Build from there. The Stoics understood that true change happens gradually but consistently. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe for more content on practical philosophy and personal growth. Until next time, stay strong and keep eliminating what doesn't serve your highest good. Drop a comment below telling me which of these eliminations you're going to start with. Let's build a community of people committed to growth and inner peace. See you in the next video.